Good afternoon and welcome to a special Weather Center report presented by FingerLakes1.com. I'm Josh Durso, and over the last 24 hours, all eyes have been on the changing weather. On Wednesday, highs reached in the 20s, and to many it felt like a heat wave in January. Change is here, though, and with it comes dangerous cold and measurable snow. Local schools closed early, canceled after-school activities, and some have even canceled Friday classes in anticipation of the dangerous cold. A wind chill warning is active for the entire region, as well as a lake effect snow warning for Wayne County and northern Cayuga. We have FL1 weather meteorologist Drew Montreuil on the phone, who will be joining us in a few minutes. But first, let's go out to Jim Sinacropi, who's monitoring the road conditions and the weather in the Finger Lakes.
Thanks, Josh. I'm standing down here at Cayuga Lake State Park on the north end of Seneca Lake in Seneca Falls, where snow has been falling pretty steadily since late morning. Lake effect bands affecting several parts of the region in the Finger Lakes. Originally, we anticipated some cold weather moving in overnight. That was going to be the big issue, but preempting that is some significant snowfall for lots of parts of the Finger Lakes, including Ontario, New York, up in northwestern Wayne County, Newark. Here in Seneca Falls, the Geneva Lakefront received some pretty significant lake effect snow, and something pretty interesting that a phenomenon you don't see a lot, but earlier today there was lake effect coming off the south end of Cayuga Lake, affecting Ithaca and areas south of Cayuga Lake, a pretty significant persistent lake effect band. Since then, the winds have shifted a little bit more out of the west, and but you don't usually see that with lake effect coming off of Cayuga Lake, but it was shooting straight down north to south off the lake. So temperatures are going to begin falling overnight. Snow is going to continue to fall. They're expecting anywhere, depending on lake effect bands, up to 9 to 12 inches. Of course, you and Drew will have more details on that. But yeah, the wind's whipping. That makes it colder than it actually is. The temperature's right now hovering around 20 degrees, but the snow keeps falling. After school activities canceled for many schools and community groups throughout the region, and this is just the beginning of what's expected to be an event that lasts through Sunday morning, with Arctic cold temperatures moving in. But as you can see, it's snowing pretty hard here. 2018 coming in like a lion here in the Finger Lakes and for much of the eastern U.S. So I'll send it back to you in the studio, Josh. Hope you guys are nice and warm.
Now for some local expertise on what's going on to make this whole weather event possible, we have FL1 weather meteorologist Drew Montreuil on the line. Drew, thanks for calling in.
Absolutely, my pleasure.
So how did we get here? Talk to us about what came together in terms of the meteorology behind all of this to create this Arctic cold and this what will be heavy snow for some people.
Well, there's actually kind of two pieces to the overall pattern. The first piece is another Arctic cold front that has kind of moved into our area, and it got a little bit washed out, kind of lost its definition as it moved into our area. And that's partly because of the big nor'easter that's moving up the East Coast. That storm has rapidly intensified, and the strong winds on the backside of it, winds around the low pressure, spin counterclockwise. So since we're well to the west of the storm, that means northwest winds that's tapping into a large pool of Arctic air and is going to bring it down into our area.
Now, what should the expectations be over the next 48 to 72 hours? Obviously, it's going to be very, very cold, but snowfall also. What's the total forecast look like?
The highest snow totals are probably going to hug the shore of Lake Ontario, anywhere from 10 to maybe as much as 15 inches locally in some of those areas, up through Wayne and northern Cayuga County, where those lake effect snow warnings are in effect. Mm-hmm. As you start heading down south towards the Thruway and then areas south, a lot of places could still easily get 6 or more inches. And then once you start heading down to the southern Finger Lakes, it tapers off. And also for areas west of Seneca Lake, probably won't get as much either. So it's mostly a northern and eastern Finger Lakes event. As for the cold and wind chills, temperatures are going to drop below zero for most areas tonight. Some of the areas right along the lake shores where it usually stays warmer probably won't quite get down below zero. But then the temperatures aren't going to move very much during the day on Friday. Many places will maybe get to zero, maybe stay a couple degrees below zero. Saturday morning will be even colder, a lot of places down around -5. And then Sunday morning, even colder yet, a lot of places getting down around -10. The nice thing is by Sunday morning, the wind should die down, so the wind chills won't be as big a factor then. But basically from tonight through Saturday night, wind chills of -20 to -30 degrees should be pretty widespread.
Now, how unusual is that as I believe it was you who published yesterday and this morning that there will be some places in the Finger Lakes that will not get above zero for more than a full 24-hour period. How unusual is that even for our New York winter standards?
It is unusual. We've seen it before in the last 10, 15 years. We've probably seen it a couple of times. So it doesn't happen every year. It doesn't even happen, I would say, once every 5 years. But it probably has a return period of 10 to 15 years. We get this sort of an intense cold outbreak. One of the differences is usually when we get these sort of cold outbreaks, the air is very dry and lake effect isn't as much of an issue. It's a clear, sunny day and it's just very, very cold. So to get that combination of this extreme cold with enough moisture to support lake effect, that is pretty unusual.
Now, what kind of precautions are forecasters and the National Weather Service and such urging people take if they do have to go out, if they do have to travel in this dangerous cold and, even just with the snow?
Well, if you have to travel, I've been telling people, make sure you've got blankets in your car, make sure your cell phone is charged. The roads are going to be a mess, and since it's so cold, the rock salt isn't going to work very well, if at all. And the blowing snow is also going to create really bad travel conditions. So there's definitely a possibility that people are going to go off the road and get stranded for at least a little bit of time, and you don't want to be unprepared if that happens. So make sure you've got a way to keep warm without necessarily running your car. Maybe get some high energy granola bars or something so you can snack on, keep your strength up a little bit. But if you have to go outside besides just traveling, make sure all of your skin is covered. Frostbite at these wind chills can happen 10, 15 minutes. So it's not going to take very long at all for it to become a very serious situation.
Now, is there relief in sight? Obviously, it's going to be very cold the next 2 days, but how does it look after that, pushing into next week?
There actually is some relief in sight. Temperatures should be getting back closer to normal, which is something we haven't seen in quite a long time. Normal for this time of year is right around 30, 32 degrees. So as soon as Monday, we might be pushing towards the freezing mark of 32 degrees. Could even see some upper 30s towards the middle of next week. And it doesn't look like there's any more of these big Arctic blasts coming, at least in the next week or two. And then some of the longer term models are indicating above normal temperatures for the second half of January and into early February. So hopefully get through the next couple of days, and then we'll be in a clear stretch for a little while.
All right. Well, I really appreciate you taking the time to talk to us, and we, like you, will be hoping for warmer weather.
All right. Thanks, Josh.
Thank you, Drew. Of course, stay tuned to the FingerLakes1.com Weather Center for the latest, but also check out FLXweather.com. That's where Drew is posting updates frequently, regularly, throughout events like this and every day. Also, don't forget to download the FingerLakes1.com app. That's going to be it for now. We will be back next time on FingerLakes1.com.